have been pounded by the raging seas for billions of years. The waves, which evolved from the sea's fury, have a character unlike that of any natural phenomenon. The variable pace and disposition of waves suggest moods of calm, grace, and beauty, but also of speed, power, and destruction.
Welcome to Malibu Beach, California, site of the first annual Milky Way Universal World Western Hemisphere Latin American Most Everything Else and All the Ships at Sea Surf Championship. We see contestant Butch Linden starting things out on a beautiful wave. Holy hot girls, here comes John Fain, another top contestant. The first prize is an all-paid around-the-world surfing safari. The winner sailing to the four corners of the earth to find his own personal, private, fearless, passionate, perfect wave. The action is furious as we see some fantastic hang tens, El Spontaneosos, El Misteriosos, El Telefonos, and a lot of good stuffos. All scoring is done scientifically on the giant electronic surfometer. Points are scored on form, board control, length of ride, and that guy there gets 2 extra points just for having the blondest hair. Inspired by trying to win first prize, which is sailing to the West Indies, South America, the Sandwich Islands. Hey, that's Hawaii, and all points west. The competitors for the first annual Milky Way Universal World Western Hemisphere Latin American Most Everything Else and All the Ships at Sea Surf Championships are really going all out. You'll recognize all these surfing stars like that guy over there and that other guy next to him. A guy could get a ticket for cutting in like that. Lucky there's no traffic cop around. Check that hip movement. The crowd is breathless as the contest comes down to the final moments. Butch Linden gets the wave of the day. Ooh, that's good, Butch. But here comes John Fain on an equally fantastic tube. Hang in there, John. Everyone waits eagerly for the judge's decision. Attention, please. The judges announce a tie for first place. Butch Linden. That's the way to hang in there, baby. Not only is Butch awarded this terrific trophy, but he gets to go on that all-paid worldwide sailing surfing safari to find the perfect wave. And that's a very nice prize, too. And tied with Butch is John Fain. Go get that trophy, John. You'll join Butch in the questo of the perfect wave-o. And to both of you boys, bon voyage. Happy sailings and hang ten.
Some young folks just got together and started out on adventure. The West Indies was their location to have a jollification. They came sailing down on their longboats waving, that must be water surfing. They scooped down here from America, they look like walking on the water. Man, we think you gone crazy, big wave chop you like a butcher knife. The way you ride on them longboards must be the surfing way of life. Yes, the surfing way of life.
Many years ago, Kahuna, the great god of the sea, ruled the destiny of the island people. When Kahuna became angry, his mood was reflected by the mounting fury of the winds and the waves. After a sacrificial ceremony to appease Kahuna's anger, the Ali'i, who were the kings, would mount their olo board some 16 feet in length and ride out to the reef to pay tribute to the great god. As years passed, the power of Kahuna diminished, but the thrills and excitement of riding the wild surf remained with the royalty. Now look what has happened. Anybody can become a king. All he needs is a surfboard and a wave to ride. With the rapid growth of devotees is the high demand for surfing products such as surfing trunks, surfing jackets, surfing wax, surfboard covers, surfing records, surfing movies, surfing jewelry, surfing vitamin pills. And the million-dollar business of new surfboard construction. The protective covering for the foam core of the modern surfboard is resin for an outer waterproof shell and fiberglass cloth for inner strength. The craftsman who applies the fiberglass cloth material has years of dedication and knowledge behind him. The last phases of sanding and buffing require speed and quality to meet the high demand for good boards, which cost approximately $130. John and Butch sail on into the sunset, but meanwhile, back at the beach.
A good surfer must have the board, and a pair of trunks are very helpful. And the privileged surfer has an assistant in the form of a luscious beach bunny. Now he paddles out to a point just beyond where the wave starts to break. He can lie flat on the board or he can kneel. If he kneels too much, it can lead to one of the unique physical characteristics of surfers, namely knobby knees. After paddling like he catches the wave, stands up and angles his board away from the breaking curl. With some fancy footwork, he turns the board so that he is always in the fastest part of the wave. Then considerable skill is required to keep the board trim or level. Speeds up to 35 miles an hour have been clocked. When the surfer is no longer able to ride the wave, he executes a maneuver which is known as a kick-out. Climbing and being is performed by a hot dogger. That's any rider who gets the most out of a wave. He drives his board to the bottom of the wave and makes a sweeping turn up the face of the wave, then drops back down again repeatedly. Trimming the board is guiding it into the fastest possible position on the wave. When in perfect trim, the board should be absolutely flat on the wave surface. Some surfers like to sit down and take it easy and see where they're going. Or turn around and see where they've been. The conventional way of riding a board is with the left foot forward. This allows the right foot to act as a pivot point and control the movement of the board. Occasionally, a rider will place his right foot forward. He's called a goofy foot surfer. By walking to the nose of the board, the rider can either gain or lose speed and control, depending on the type of wave and the board's position in the wave. If the board stalls, the rider moves forward, shifting his weight so that the board drops back into the correct position. If weight is maintained forward for too long, the nose dives under the water. This is called purling. kickouts consist of thrusting the board over the top of the wave to avoid going all the way to shore. Kickouts leave the surfer in a good position to paddle out for the next wave without having to battle the shore break. Well, that's one way to get a close haircut, guys. Here's a few wipeouts, otherwise known as taking gas, snuffed, eating it, out of control, classics, nasties, bailing out, dumped, all-timers. All of which means losing control, falling into the water, and getting very, very wet. Few of the luscious sea nymphs that frolic at the surf areas to watch and be watched. There's a beach bunny for every size and shape of surfer. And some lucky guys have 2 or 3. Ooh, that's good. Ooh, that's bad. This is called tandem riding. Tandem riding involves the use of an extra-large board and requires a powerful male and a tiny, agile female. Or else a powerful female and a tiny, agile male. The two ride the board in a variety of positions. Usually the girl on the boy's shoulders. Sometimes the girl goes through the motions of a ballerina with back arches and forward and reverse swans. This is a highly specialized form of surfing, and it's almost impossible to do it alone. Belly boarding, for guys who like to get wet from head to toe. Skimboarding, for guys who like to get wet from knobby knees to toe. Skateboarding, for guys who don't like to get wet at all. Except sometimes. And the driest sport of them all, sandhill surfing. All you need is an old ironing board, a large sand dune, and a lot of hospital insurance. Shooting the tube in a waterfall. Or jumping off a cliff is another way surfers amuse themselves while waiting for the waves. This form of exercise is guaranteed to build an alert mind in a healthy body. tide moves in, the dance ends, and everybody hits the water. Let's take another look and review some of the fine points in surfing. The directional, anti-directional, and straight takeoffs, walking on the board, nose riding, correct trimming, and the classic wipeouts. Fancy footwork. Neat trim. Beautiful turn. Dig that 180-degree turn. And reversing another great 180. Another beautiful sweeping turn. It's all part of the surfer's way of life. And ooh, it's good. Having become acquainted with a few of the fundamentals of surfing, we rejoin our two prize winners in their worldwide quest for the perfect wave.
They are searching this wave all over. They got to make this big sacrifice. They had to keep right on sailing to find a new surfing paradise. Man, we think you get crazy, big wave choppy like a butcher knife. The way you ride on them longboards must be the surfing way of life. To search and to find wave a go-go. They stop here in Puerto Rico and look at this beautiful island while King sings a welcome calypso. The sun feels good in the morning. The wind blow out from the shore. The waves roll in up to 10 feet. This is what they are looking for. Man, we think you get crazy. Big wave chop you like a butcher knife. The way you ride on them longboards must be the surfing way of life. The surfing way of life. The surfing way of life. The surfing way of life.
First stop, Puerto Rico, a beautiful, fertile island in the Caribbean Sea and virtually a virgin area. Man, this is really what it's all about. After traveling thousands of miles, the boys find this ideal, secret, unspoiled, unsurfed paradise. The Puerto Rican locals call this place Rincon, which strangely enough is also the name of a great but very crowded surf area in California. However, here the boys have the surf all to themselves with no worries about getting cut in half by a loose board or run off by a grouchy lifeguard. Boys, here you are in a totally new surfing area, thousands of miles from home. Tell us how you feel about the surfing way of life.
I always thought of what would I be doing if I didn't live on the beach. If I was back in the Midwest, would I be just a rancher and never even thinking about surfing or what? Now, I happen to live out here on the beach, on the sand, and I have become a surfer, and it's turned into a way of life. I've gotten to the point where I don't want to live any other place except the beach, and I'm pretty sure nothing's going to ever change my mind about that. What the surfer tries to do is he tries to take off in a position where he can go right at the first of the wave, go into the hook and turn in this acute position and actually defy this curl, turn right inside the wave as much as possible, come out around again, go left and trim up as fast as you can so you can stay with the wave.
Surfing is two forces moving at once. It's you and the wave, and there's no greater feeling than when you're in control of that other force.
talking about perfect waves and being what's called surfed out.
After you get through, if you surf the whole day, you picture those real great moments, and they stay with you throughout the night.
The climate of the day has a lot to do with the way I think of the day in the first place. If it's cold and windy, I'm not really that jazzed on going out there. If the sun's really hot, the day's clear, there's say a good 5 to 6 foot swell running, then I'm really excited. I want to get out there as quick as I can, and I want to try these waves out no matter what, and I'll stay out all day.
The next morning, the wind shifts, and yesterday's perfect wave becomes today's churning mess of H2O. But the native steel drummers beat out the message that things are more groovy on the other side of the island, and the boys take off. Butch and John paddle out in old San Juan Harbor to drop in on a few light ones.
You rest it up and you remember how good a feeling it was to ride these waves, and actually you almost accept any kind of wave after that. For some reason, you'll just to go out again and maybe have fun again, because it was such a good feeling to have this much fun, you'll almost ride any type of wave the next day.
John Fain, when he isn't surfing, works as an actor. He favors Shakespearean roles, a sort of Malibu on Avon type, a hang ten Hamlet. Butch Linden hails from California and has followed the surfing way of life for the best part of his 21 years. But he still finds the time to study engineering at UCLA, and it's assumed when he gets his degree, he'll design a machine that will churn out the perfect artificial wave on any body of water, from a lake to a bathtub.
On this Caribbean island, I met a fellow. He talks excited with a lingo. He tells them in Bristol, Barbados, the wave growl rougher than a walrus. They start real early next morning. The weather had changed its condition. The wild winds start the sea boiling. I know they had went through a big thing. Man, we think you guys crazy, big wave chopper like the butcher knife. The way you ride on them longboats must be the surfing way of life. The surfing way of life.
Following the footsteps of the great explorers of the past, the boys set out on their trusty, rusty iron steeds to find a new world of waves to conquer. Beau Bells, near Bridgetown, Barbados, where it is rumored that different pirates, Blackbeard, Bluebeard, Redbeard, and several other colored beards, buried their stolen treasures. The boys find a treasure of their own in the form of a few hot curls. There's a lot of bounce to that water.
You have more control over the wave when you're facing the wave, because you can tell exactly the moment it's going to break, how long it's going to hold up, how much time you have to fool around, or how much time you don't have.
Christopher Columbus could have surfed in these very waters, but unfortunately, his surf bunny, Queen Isabella, wouldn't come up with the necessary gold to buy him aboard.
Surfing, the most controllable part of the board is your forward foot. Your back foot controls the weight, whether you have weight on a tail or whether you don't have weight on a tail. But your forward foot controls your turn by tilting the board, by pushing on it one way or another.
When you can stay in the acute part of the wave and not get dumped, and make it all the way to the shoreline, in the most critical part of the break, then you have mastered surfing.
Port of Spain, Trinidad, the crossroads of the West Indies and South America, and the focal point at carnival time. Complete with the most modern accommodations for all its numerous visitors.
That's no alarm clock. That's the sound of the Trinidad steel drums heralding the beginning of the big 3-day carnival. The boys take up the beat and join the Earth people in their annual festival. There's always time for this sort of activity in the surfing way of life.
Get ready for the carnival. Everybody join in the carnival. Fun for everyone at the carnival. Eating bacchanal at the carnival. Carnival, carnival. Everybody join in the carnival. Carnival, carnival. Having lots of fun at the carnival. Bongos beating, steel drums singing, bamboo blowing, pipe flute squealing, everybody singing, having lots of fun. Big one, little one jumping at the carnival. Carnival, carnival. Everybody join in the carnival. Carnival, carnival. Having lots of fun at the carnival. It's music, it's music, it's music for your dancing. It's music, it's music for romancing. It's music. Carnival, carnival. Everybody join in the carnival. Carnival, carnival. Having lots of fun at the carnival. Carnival, carnival. Everybody join in the carnival. Carnival, carnival. Having lots of fun at the carnival.
But like a creature of the sea, the surfer cannot stay for very long out of the water. So Butch and John return to the sea. This time beneath the fury of the waves to the cool serenity of the depths of the ocean. And that's not bad therapy for that morning after a 3-day carnival rock-out feeling.
as they enter this seemingly innocent-looking cabin, they have discovered the secret passage that leads from the ocean floor to the top of the lost world of the ancient Inca kingdom. The conquistadores came in search of gold in the fabled city of Dorado. But here our heroes discover what may well be the secret birthplace of the oceans of the world. The melting snows of the Peruvian Andes form a stream near the city of Cusco, which flows from an elevation of 13,000 feet and gathers strength and momentum as it speeds downward to the seacoast, creating a new surfing paradise.
Transportation is provided by the local dust bus. That's a bus that struggles to go fast enough to keep ahead of its own cloud of dust. On to Cerro Azul, near Lima, Peru, the bird guana capital of the world. If you want a good deal on bird guana, this is the place to go. It also happens to be one of the greatest surfing areas in the world.
Surfing impresses me with the timing and the coordination it takes, how a person can actually stand on the nose and not fall down, why it takes a certain speed to hold that nose up, and things like this, the timing of the sport, and just the whole mechanics of it, plus the beauty and the grace, which is on a side pleasure for me too, but this timing of things, it interests me every time, how a person can turn a board that big, that wide, and that thick so fast, as fast as he does, and how he can trim it so fast.
When the bullfighter has complete dominance of the bull, he is controlling it. It's the same way with the surfer. He is defying the law of gravity, and he is trying to hold his position on the wave at the same time.
The dynamic duo's trespassing in his secret guano factory and flings our heroes back to the lower depths beneath the sea. We discover another reminder of someone who suffered from Kahuna's displeasure. A once mighty ship has been reduced to an underwater housing track for sea slugs, sea urchins, and the dangerous West Indian Bacaruda.
Another island in the sun is Hawaii, with big bone-crushing high waves. The waves are so rough that you got to hang tough. You really never get enough. Man, we think you guys crazy. Big wave chop you like a butcher knife. The way you ride on them longboats must be the surfing way of life. The surfing way of life. The surfing way of life. The surfing way of life.
The trumpeting of the conch shell heralds the arrival of our two surfing champions to Hawaii. Warm weather, warm water, and warm wahinis. The surfer's paradise.
Observe, if you will, my friends, the ritualistic dance of the modern island people as they perform for Kahuna, hoping that he will bless them with giant 30-foot swells.
Big waves is supposedly one of the biggest build-up part of surfing there is around. A big wave itself is something fantastic. It's like dropping off a cliff in midair and then controlling your fall, catching yourself before you hit the bottom and floating back up again. It's like an avalanche. Instead of you trying to outrun the avalanche, or the avalanche trying to catch you, you're trying to control the avalanche, or it controls you by wiping you out. It's a fantastic feeling. It's not so much of a hot dogging on these waves. They're trying to hot dog more and more, control the waves, but it's just a tremendous feeling of a drop, speed and being out of control for a while, and then being able to catch yourself back again and control it and bring yourself out into the open. Is, I think, the main thrill in big waves. Also, they're spectacular to look at. This is where the main build-up has come of them. Everyone loves to see these large waves and people getting wiped out and figure what the guy must feel when he's going down this wave. I mean, it's a tremendous feeling. It's just like jumping off a cliff, like I said, and controlling your fall.
Captain Cook, when he first discovered the islands, actually made notes about Hawaiians riding the surf with long, narrow boards hundreds of years ago. The type of board used today in the big surf is called a gun, and it's longer and more narrow than the California hot dog boards. Let's look at that in slow motion. Some of the great surfing spots in Hawaii include Waimea, which has the biggest waves ever ridden, Makaha, home of the World's Championships, Sunset Beach, Haleiwa, and Bonsai Pipeline. takeoff occurs just as the wave is about to crest. Then comes the drop, like an elevator ride in the Empire State Building or a free-fall parachute jump. That's a 3-story wall of water behind the surfer as he makes the bottom turn. Making it through is riding to the end of the curling section before the wall of water collapses, then kicking out and heading back out to sea. Locked in is being in the tube of water, with the wave breaking in the back and curling in the front. If the rider doesn't make it through before the tube collapses, he is said to be proning out, and he lays on the board and heads for the shore on white water. The dangers of surfing in these waters are many. Cross currents, rocky bottoms, out-of-control riders, miscalculations of direction and speed of brake, and lack of respect for a kahuna. All can lead to getting snuffed in tons of turbulent water. This is the ultimate thrill in any surfer's life, and our 2 contest winners are no exception. The perfect wave, the feeling of freedom, and the knowledge that they are able to cope with the tremendous forces of nature. These waves have made a lot of guys give up surfing and take up chess. Each type of wave offers a different kind of challenge to the surfer's skill. Hot dogging on a smallie can be just as satisfying as making it through on a big one. It takes years of practice to make it look so easy.
Unlike Mount Everest, which has stood for millions of years, the life of one individual wave is counted in minutes and seconds. It comes once and then is gone forever. The conquerors of mountains spend years in studying its dangers before attempting an assault. But the conqueror of a wave must make a split-second decision about his mountain. He must know how it will form, in what direction it will go, how much time he has before tons of water will break and smash against the shore. One moment of miscalculation or indecision, and he can be in serious danger and may even lose his life. However, the thrill and exhilaration of a perfect ride on a perfect wave, which may come few and far between, stays with him forever and makes it all worthwhile.
The kind of place that we look for, the wave must break on the seashore. We know these wild waves are tricky, that's why we don't go there before. They are searching this wide world over, they got to make this big sacrifice. They got to keep right on sailing to find a new surfing paradise. Man, we think you guys crazy, big wave chop you like the butcher knife. The way you ride on them longboats must be the surfing way of life. Goodbye, 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 come again to the surfing way of life.